welcome to the 38th Annual Delaware Women's Hall of Fame. I am Kay Keenan, the chair of the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame, and I'm joined tonight with the vice chair of the committee, Jackie Griffith, I shouldn't have turned my head, and the Office of Women's Advancement and Advocacy Director, Melanie Ross Levin. The three of us will MC tonight's program.
Hello. To get us started, it's my pleasure to begin the evening by calling on the Girl Scouts of the Chesapeake Bay to present the colors.
Girl Scouts, please lead us in a salute to the flag. Please stand for the presentation of the colors. Girl Scouts, attention. Color Guard, attention. Color Guard, advance. Color Guard, present your colors. Ladies and gentlemen, the flag of our country, let us pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color Guard, post your colors. Color Guard, dismissed.
Yes, you may be seated. Thank you to Ella, Isabel, Elizabeth, and Zoe. First, we'd like to begin to take the opportunity to thank the following people for joining us tonight. Governor John Kearney. First spouse, Tracy Quillin Kearney. Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long. Attorney General Kathy Jennings. Secretary of Human Resources Sandra Ross Johnson. Our Chief Information Officer, James Collins. State Representative Kim Williams. And we have the Honorable Patty Blevins here with us this evening as well. And the many judges from across our great state, both in family court and superior court, are here with us tonight. Also, I'd like to thank my fellow members of the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame Committee, the Honorable Nancy Cook, Dr. Del Tufo, she isn't with us tonight, Donna Maisley, and Tara Smith, along with the staff in the Office of Women's Advancement and Advocacy. They work really hard to get this event underway, and it takes literally a year of planning, so we're thankful for them. Okay. Thank you.
It is my honor to introduce two people who need little introduction, our Governor, John Kearney, and our first spouse, Tracy Quillin Kearney, who will provide some welcoming remarks. Governor and Tracy.
Good evening. This is my second time in this room this week. Earlier in the week, we celebrated the Teachers of the Year, in the 19th school district and the charter school network in this facility. It was a wonderful evening. Some of the most dedicated people in our state. We named, part of my responsibility that night is to name the teacher of the year. It's kind of bittersweet. You got 20 wonderful teachers and from across the state, and you can only single out one as the teacher of the year, which was Rebecca Vitali from the Colonial School District, who works in the early childhood center there. It was just a wonderful night. I walked in here tonight, didn't know what to expect. This is really, really cool. And it's not that often that I get an opportunity during the week to share dinner with my wife. So this is pretty special. I'm told I don't have any specific role up here except to introduce Tracy, my wife, which also doesn't happen very often. When they refer to married couples, they talk about the better half. Pretty clear, Senator Cook, the better half here. One of the things in light of that, Maria, come on. Years ago, 20 plus years ago, I guess, when I first told Tracy that I was thinking about running for office, she didn't say anything to me initially, and she went, as she normally does, to think it over a little bit. And then she came back and she said, okay, I'm with you 100%, but don't expect me to be a prop. Don't expect me to come to all the little dinners and stand next to you so the dutiful wife and all this, or the boys similarly to be props. And that was the deal. And it's where I knew Maria was going to be a problem for me tonight. She's been telling me what to do for the last 20 years. That's why I came here tonight, to make sure that she gets honored so that maybe she would give me a break. So when I was elected governor, and I knew that there's a role for the First Lady, first I knew she was not going to be comfortable with the term First Lady. In fact, one of the early visits to one of the schools, one of the kids said, "You're the First Lady? You must be really old then." So she does prefer to be referred to as the first spouse, and she's doing tremendous work all across our state with a series of initiatives that she calls First Chance. We only have one opportunity to give a strong start to each of our children, and that's the first chance. To make sure that they don't go to school hungry, to make sure that they have the social and emotional supports that they need, to make sure that they get to kindergarten ready to learn to read, to make sure that they can read at grade level by third grade. If we can accomplish all of that with all these initiatives, we can make a big difference in the state of Delaware. Before I ask Tracy to come up here and share her remarks, I do want to congratulate the honorees tonight. We have just an exceptional group of honorees, really special Delawareans who've done incredible things for our state. Somebody else is going to introduce you and talk about you, but I'm just enormously proud of each of you, and I want to congratulate you on this recognition. And now, my Hall of Fame woman, Tracy Quillin Kearney.
Well, that was lovely. Thank you, Maria. The thing that I am not on the Hall of Fame committee, but this would be my list if I had been. This is a wonderful list of Delaware women. I'll start with Marie Swajeski. Last week, a friend of mine from high school introduced me at an event and referred to when we were in high school 1,000,000 years ago. Using that yardstick, 1.5 million years ago, I attended Marie Swajeski's Children's Repertory Theater of Delaware summer camps. And I was one of those shy kids who theater was very good for. And I appreciated her very much. And I hope her family will convey good memories from my friend Charlie Crompton and me, who were at that camp together 1.5 million years ago. As for the late Blanche Williams Stubbs, what can you say to a suffragette, a woman of color suffragette? You say thank you. And you remember that the rights we have came at a price that was paid by those who came before us. And the personal connection I feel there is the Quaker thing in her work with Thomas Garrett and in his name. So I hope her family will take that personal thanks as well. Drew Fennell, what do you say about Drew? Drew's done everything very well, and she also, shortly after my father died, told me a great story about my dad and how he was supportive of her ambition to go to law school, and that meant the world to me. So that's another personal connection. As for the Office of the Child Advocate, these are my people. And I so appreciate having been invited into your work that you've been doing for so long. And I just came in and said, hey, that fits with what I want to do, and was invited right in. So thank you very much to Tanya and her crew. Jan Jurden. More personal and multi-generational connections. I have a certain familial respect for the judiciary, as some of you know. My dad served on a few of Delaware's courts, couldn't keep a job, kept jumping around. But also, Jan's dad and my dad were friends and were alike in many ways. And now, our children have just graduated this past May from Tufts University. So there's that connection. And finally, Maria Matos. I thought I forgot someone. I think of Maria Matos, and there's one word that comes to mind. She's a hero. She's a community foundation in the best possible sense, and I'm not going to look at her because I might cry. But the way someone can build something, when I first went to work for Senator Biden, I saw it said 35 years you've been doing this business, nonprofit? 25? Okay. Because 35, the Girl Scouts. And I used to work, by the way, for the Chesapeake Bay Girl Scout Council, so I like seeing those Girl Scouts too. But from my first day in Senator Biden's office, it was very clear to me that Maria was a hero for all of us. And has been so ever since. So what an incredible privilege to be here with all of you. It's great to see this room full as we look forward to a rather important anniversary in 2020. So thank you, everybody, and congratulations to the people I would have picked if I'd been on the committee. It's great to be here with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor Kearney, and our first spouse, and we'll always refer to you as our first spouse, Tracy Quillin Kearney, for those kind words and for supporting tonight's event. Now I'd like to invite Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long up to the stage to honor our past recipients of the Hall of Fame of Delaware Women. Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you. Wow, thank you. I have some good colleagues, great colleagues, and I have to say the governor is aware. Last week I blew off him at the cabinet because I went in to be with Tracy at an award ceremony where she was. Did I make the right decision, ladies? Thank you to the governor. Well, I will be honoring in a moment those who are present with us who have come before. And just for 30 seconds, if I might, they told me I had like a couple minutes, but I'll be really brief. You really are the trailblazers in this room. And as I look around, I see mentors, and they know who they are, who have led the way for me in my career, but also the many other women. And I know Representative Mimi Brown just came in. I saw our former Lieutenant Governor, former Attorney General Matt Dinn. All of us, I think, who are in that generation have a great deed of thanks to many of you who went before us. And so what I would like to do now is have to put these on. Something happened since I first met some of you. Something happened to the eyes, I don't know, right? But if I call your name, would you stand? And if for some reason, if you are an inductee and we have missed you, I want you to wave at the very end. But in front of me, two of my mentors, Senator Nancy Cook, Senator Patty Blevins. If you would stand, they have been in the hall before. Also, remain standing if you would. I don't know if Teresa Del Tofo, if she is still here or she was not able to make it. Susan Del Pasco was supposed to join us. I don't know if she's made it yet. Nikki Eldison, I can always say that night. No, Nikki is not yet. I know Reba Hollingsworth is here because I saw her in the back, Miss Reba. And I know Annie Norman is here. There's Annie in the back. Deborah Wicks. And Sonia Sloan was supposed to be coming. Debbie, stay up. And then I think that's it. Did I miss anyone that was present this evening? Let's give them one more round of applause for their trailblazing activities. Thank you. And all I'll say, I think both of our governor and our first lady, first spouse, first spouse, summed it up correctly when she talked about the women we're honoring tonight. Really, really important in our roles for advocacy, standing up for rights, being present for the oppressed, and also really being like Maya Angelou. You know, sometimes we stand quietly, and I know our Attorney General gets this really well, Catherine Jennings. Sometimes you have to do things alone, and sometimes when you stand up and make those tough choices, you don't realize how many other individuals you're impacting. And as Maya Angelou often stated, when a woman stands for herself, she stands for many. And so for each of you tonight, thank you so much for standing up for us, and I can't wait to hear all about your wonderful history as we go on to this program. So I will turn this back to our hostess. Have a great time.
Thank you to Lieutenant Governor Hall-Long. I know you have to run, but it's for a good reason. You are being honored tonight by Attack Addiction for all of the work you do. And so thanks again and congratulations. Now we have a bit of a surprise for the agenda, a video message from our senior senator, Senator Tom Carper.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I can't be with you. I'm not in Washington. I'm in a Navy P-8 airplane. I'm a retired Navy captain, P-3 aircraft mission commander, and up in the air with my old buds. And I'm told that, however, there's no shortage of applicants for this year's Delaware Women's Hall of Fame, and that comes as no surprise in the first state. To the 6 women chosen from more than 60 applicants, you are truly an inspiration to me, and I know to all of us. You join a remarkable group of women, including several that are dear friends of Martha's mine, like Jill Biden, Dr. Wilma Mashu, our Congresswoman Lisa Blunt-Rochester, just to name a few. Next year marks the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment, which gave citizens the right to vote regardless of gender. And today and every day, we celebrate the courageous women who fought hard to secure the progress we enjoy today. And remember that our work to ensure equality for all is far from over. The preamble to our Constitution, ratified just 5 miles from where you're gathered tonight, starts with these words: "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union." It doesn't say a perfect union. Instead, it says a more perfect union. And the idea was that we'd always be striving to be better, to make progress year after year, generation after generation. And thanks to the example set by the determined women in this room, we're going to be honored tonight. And I just want to say we will continue working hard in this country to build an ever more perfect union for our children, our grandchildren, and their children as well. And I hope that those of you in that room tonight are inspired by these 6 women to be even better in our community, in our state, in our country, our world, and I'm sure you know that I am. Thank you. Enjoy the special night, and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Carper, and we have his state director here today. So if she can stand and wave somewhere. Okay, she was here. Oh, she's over there. So fantastic. Thank you.
So you may have noticed that we have a few women that are in the suffrage costume for this event tonight. And our colors for the suffrage, purple, white, and gold. So all of this is important for one reason. So 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, has been mentioned before. So on September 26, 2020, we'll be having a march, a reception in Dover, and we'll dedicate a monument at Legislative Hall to those who led the suffrage movement here in Delaware. And including our first honoree, it will be the late Blanche Williams Stubbs. So please save the date for September 26, 2020. So at this time, it's my pleasure to bring to the stage Carol Scott. Carol Scott will introduce us to the late Blanche Williams Stubbs and accept the award on behalf of her family because they could not be here tonight. So Carol, please come up.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here thanks to Professor Ann Bolin from University of Delaware's History Department. She asked me to research and write the biographical document about this evening's inductee, the late Blanche Williams Stubbs. Blanche Stubbs, born in Wisconsin in 1872, hailed from Howard University before settling in Wilmington. Her encounters with segregation and perverse inequalities toward blacks began in Washington, D.C. and Wilmington, Delaware. She was an educator at the Howard School, the first school in Delaware to offer a 4-year high school for African Americans. After her marriage to Dr. J. Bacon Stubbs, she resigned and became a lifelong activist. She founded the Garrett Settlement House in 1912, along with her husband and colleagues from Howard School, and she served Wilmington's African American community, supported and later became vice president of the Wilmington NAACP. She devoted time to women's clubs work. And she started the City Federation of Women's Clubs that focused on African American youth. And this prompted the opening of the Delaware Industrial School for colored girls. America, as we have heard a couple times now, is readying for a celebration for the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. Blanche Stubbs was part of that milestone of struggle, agitation, and protest. When Delaware suffragists organized Wilmington's first mass suffrage parade, she served as marshal to the colored section, which marched behind the white suffragists. But the black women and the white suffragists had been working together for quite some time, matter of fact, since 1848. Stubbs opened the Garrett Settlement House to the Congressional Union to recruit ward-level suffrage support in Wilmington because at that time the Delaware State Legislature had refused to ratify the 19th Amendment. Suffrage now won. Stubbs protested Southern states' disenfranchisement of black women and confronted the National Women's Party chair, Alice Paul, on the refusal to support African American women's voting rights. She was the state chair of the black-led National Republican Women's Auxiliary Committee, and she attended at least one Pan-African American conference in New York. Successfully, also, she kept the film, The Birth of a Nation, out of the local theaters in Wilmington. And Blanche paved the way for all of the Delaware's public accommodations to be integrated. At her passing, inductee Blanche Williams Stubbs, a once outsider to Wilmington, was eulogized as one of the most prominent women in Wilmington's African American community. And now I would be pleased to introduce a short video about the late Blanche Williams Stubbs.
I think the most important thing to learn from Blanche Stubbs is she was a polished educator. She came from a very basically good background, okay? But she did not allow that to puff her up, so to speak. She was willing to roll her sleeves up and do whatever was necessary to advance her people, advance African Americans.
I like to describe women like Blanche Stubbs as being sort of diplomats or ambassadors to white women. And many African American women learned how to sort of do things for their communities in that fashion. So through the Women's Christian Temperance Union, which had endorsed women's suffrage back in the 1880s, she would go to their meetings as the only African American woman present, and she'd be invited to speak to the audience. And she would describe the conditions that kids faced.
Because they were in the community, they were there, they were among the people, and they were still moving. But at the same time, they reached up and touched those folks and had connections with those folks that were above them in higher places, but they never lost touch with the folks there down at the bottom because they wanted to always pull them up. It was about uplifting. She was very, very outspoken about, again, the rights that were denied to blacks, period. But then when she moved into the women's rights, she saw that the 19th Amendment here in Wilmington was being rejected, she stepped up. You're talking about a time when blacks were not accepted in many areas, okay? We're talking about different discriminatory practices that she was not used to. Her first experiences with vast and perverse inequality was Washington, D.C., and then Wilmington, Delaware.
She and her colleagues started a settlement house at 8th and Buttonwood around 1911.
The Garrett House, I think that was one of the main things that stuck out because so many things were done there for black folks. I mean, they had programs for children, for adults, activities, classes, when people needed a place to have meetings, to push the movements forward, to do something to improve the black community, to uplift. They happen at the Garrett House. I just hope that this is the beginning because our young folks need to know about those folks that came before them and the shoulders that they're standing on, because they're standing on shoulders like Blanche Williams Stubbs.
H. Gordon Fleming could not be present this evening, so he sent these remarks to be shared. Blanche Williams Stubbs has always been an influential and inspirational figure in our family. My mother, Patricia, has fond memories of family gatherings and meeting her grandmother, Blanche. As new details about Blanche's life emerged, through my research and the efforts of Carol Scott, Ann Bolin, and team, her life and prolific social activism became more apparent. From her education at DC's Howard University and her teaching career, to the founding of the Garrett Settlement House in Wilmington, Blanche's life story is being rediscovered. Blanche co-founded the Wilmington Equal Suffrage Study Clubs in 1914, and in 1916 became the first president of the Delaware Federation of Colored Women's Clubs. These are just some of her social justice and policy-changing achievements. My mother, Patricia Stubbs Fleming, and I would like to thank Melanie Rose Levin and the Governor's Office, Ann Bolin, Carol Scott, and the Hall of Fame of Delaware Women's Committee for inducting our Blanche Williams Stubbs into the Hall of Fame. The Williams and Stubbs family are extremely honored.
Thank you, Carol, for your words and for doing the research to bring this incredible biography to life. So now I'd like to bring Lisa Goodman to the stage, who nominated her wife, Drewry Fennell. Lisa.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm honored to introduce the most badass woman I know, my wife, Drewry Fennell. As executive director of the ACLU, as executive director of the Criminal Justice Council, as Governor Markell's chief of staff, she was indeed a badass. A few examples. Former felons who have served their time in Delaware can now vote because Drew led efforts to pass such legislation. Spanish speakers can still get governmental help in Spanish because Drew led the effort to defeat English-only legislation introduced after anti-immigrant sentiment in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. Some things never change, right? LGBTQ Delawareans can't be fired, denied service in restaurants or in any public place, denied housing or denied insurance because Drew led a 10-year effort to pass non-discrimination legislation. Inmates in Delaware prisons have at least a very basic level of humane health care because Drew led the efforts that resulted in the Delaware Department of Corrections entering into a consent decree with the federal government following terrible details of prisoner suffering. At least 27 people who were in prison for life because of Delaware's 3 strikes law are out of prison or are resentenced with a second chance because Drew led efforts to pass legislation reforming Delaware law. And the number of prisoners who are held in Delaware prisons pre-trial, typically people who can't afford bail, is down 33% at the last published count because of broad-reaching bail and sentencing reform legislation efforts led by Drew. And these are just a few of Drew's professional accomplishments, but I want to talk about what makes Drew Drew. While Drew was Governor Markell's deputy chief of staff, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Following major surgery, she, of course, immediately went back to work. She worked through chemotherapy. And during chemotherapy, she got up each day, threw up, put on her wig, and went to work. And she said at the time that she was never going to get another chance to do such important work from such a position, and she wasn't going to waste one day of it. And if that isn't badass, I don't know what is. I think Drew has been successful because she changes hearts and minds with good arguments, with grace, with personal courage, and frankly, with more implacable perseverance than any person I've ever met. And I can't wait to see what amazing work she does in her relatively new role at Christiana Care. And now I think there's a video that will also help introduce Drew. Thank you.
I'm impressed every year with the women who are named to this honor. Delaware being Delaware, I often know many of them. This year I know all of them. And Marie and Maria and Jan and Tanya and Drew are extraordinary. I think the selection committee really knocked it out of the park. And I'm thrilled that Drew has asked me to say a few words on her behalf. Every time Drew has to make a decision, every issue that Drew is involved in, she always makes sure that she is putting other people at the center of the equation. I've literally never seen her say, well, this is important to me. What she says is, this is why this is important to others.
Drew looks to make the world around us a fairer place for us to live, a more humane place for us all to live, and a kinder, more inclusive place. And she accomplishes all of that We all know about her advocacy for LGBTQ rights, for marriage equality, and for the Equal Rights Amendment. What may not be as well known is her tremendous advocacy in the field of criminal justice reform.
When you're dealing with criminal justice, especially when you have a background like a background I have, been in jail, did time, transition, and you come across a lot of people who appear to have a concern for this particular population. However, a lot of times it's used for like to exploit or, you know, for their benefit. But I really felt like Drew was someone who generally cared and had a real passion to see individuals be successful.
I think the thing that really I'll always remember about Drew, she had cancer when she was working in our office. And her commitment, her drive to continue to be a part of the team, to continue to make a difference for people throughout our state was unbelievable.
When you still, in your darkest hours, still think to assist other individuals, that says a whole lot.
She is a Renaissance woman. She's just knowledgeable in so many different areas and has been a pioneer in so many areas of human rights, of civil rights. And I think she's done a tremendous job with making the world we live in a better place.
So for your pioneering work in LGBTQ rights and criminal justice reform, and so much more, Drewry Fennell, please join us, and you are already here, to accept this award and be inducted into the Hall of Fame of Delaware Women. Thank you.
I tried to save a little time by walking up early. So I just want to thank everyone here. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Granville. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Jack. And thank you, Jackie and Melanie and everyone who put this evening tonight, and of course, Governor Kearney and the first spouse. I gotta love that. And I want to congratulate my dear, dear friends, Tanya and Jan and Maria, and to Marie Swajeski, whom I've admired from afar for many years. Congratulations too, but most of all, really, to Blanche Williams Stubbs, whose legacy we all benefit from today. You know, we're here tonight celebrating women's leadership because of the work of people like her. And, you know, and good for her for standing up to Alice Paul. I learned that tonight. That was a shameful moment in the history of feminism, and good for her. You know, there's so many of us in this room tonight who benefited from her work, who continue to benefit from her work today. People like me, Jan, others, who a generation ago, we literally could not have held the roles we hold today. And that's remarkable. And to every person in this room, many of you I've worked with over the years, thank you for spending every day sort of being the change you want to see in the world. And to my coworkers from Christiana Care, thank you for being there. I promise it doesn't take me 10 years to do everything. And of course, to my family, to my wonderful wife, Lisa. You know, my best advice that I ever give anyone is to pick someone warm and loving and capable. I mean, ask anyone here, I believe Lisa Goodman can do anything. But most of all, pick someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. That's really important. And to my sweet sister Beth, who came here tonight, and to Ann Claude, my other sister, who is watching with her family on Facebook. Hi! And of course, to my children, Mary Nash and Whit and Caroline, who are here tonight, and David. Hello, Facebook, again. Thank you for being here, and of course to my son-in-law, Drew, and to Whit's boyfriend, Spencer. We love you, and we're so glad you're here. You may have noticed that the photos that ran before we talked, we were up here tonight, and in the video, there were group photos of my family. There were actually lots of them, maybe more than you might have expected if you noticed at all. But not only are we all a little bit older than we were in some of those pictures, but the reason I selected them was because in each of those photos, we had a different legal relationship to each other. So there's a photo from our commitment ceremony, which was accompanied with a lot of very expensive legal documentation and estate planning. And then we had a civil union. You saw some pictures of that. And marriage became legal in Delaware, and then it was recognized by the federal government. And we're standing here as living proof that progress is personal and progress is possible. And we are going to hang on, folks. So my dad was a wonderful guy, and he died young, 42, and I was only 20. And I thought at the time, that'll draw you up short. Two things I want in my life. One is I really, really, really wanted children, so thank you to the four of you. And I wanted to leave the world a little better than I found it. And Granville Brown texted me a photo the other day that said, it doesn't matter whose fault it is, if something's broken, it's your responsibility to fix it. And that is something my dad used to always say. And it reminded me so much of the lessons I've learned and that I hope I've passed on to my children and that I hope I've shared with all of you, especially right now, especially today. There's so much finger pointing, and it seems even worse. There's a lot of who me, I didn't do it, I didn't break it, I'm not responsible. We're not doing that anymore. At Christiana Care, our values are love and excellence. And we know that when you lead with love, you can do really hard things. Love lets you do the hard things. And there's a lot of love in this room tonight and a lot of excellence. And for every woman in this room and every man in this room and everybody watching on Facebook, live in love, serve with excellence. I cannot wait to see what we get to achieve next. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Drew. As always, that was amazing. It is now my honor to introduce Natalie Wolfe, who nominated Tanya Culley. Ms. Wolfe, please join me on stage.
Good evening. Is that okay? From a friendship spanning nearly 4 decades, the thing I know to be most true about Tanya Culley is that she is tenacious about protecting the people she loves. Fortunately for Delaware, Tanya loves our most defenseless children and has been tireless in protecting them as our state's first child advocate. 2019 marks the 20th anniversary of the enactment of the legislation that gave Delaware a child advocate. Just the first of the 11 duties with which Tanya was tasked would have been daunting to most of us. It says, take all possible actions, including programs of public education and legislative advocacy, to secure and ensure the legal, civil, and special rights of the children. That is a mouthful. Over the last 20 years, Tanya transformed this theoretical concept into an agency that gives abused and neglected children a voice, not only in our court system, but in Leg Hall and their very lives. To date, the office has ensured legal representation for over 6,000 children, while also protecting their medical, mental health, and educational needs, and providing for them to have access to typical life experiences, simple things to us, like buying a yearbook or going to prom, that these children would not have the ability to do, but for Tanya's philosophy that it is the responsibility of those caring for these children to make them not only safe, but to make them whole. Of the 21 letters of support I received for Tanya's nomination to go with my nomination form, by the way, many of those were from people who freely said to me, I did not see eye to eye with her while I worked with her, but I learned a lesson, I learned a lot, and I respect her. To a person, they said that. But of those letters, one was from Dr. Alan DeJong, a child abuse pediatric expert. And I think he best captured the experience of working with Tanya, which you have to understand. I have found Tanya to be tireless, prepared, diligent, persistent, unshakable, insistent, and relentless in her pursuit of the best interests of the child. We do not agree all the time, and at those times, I might add unyielding, uncompromising, or unrelenting to my adjectives. However, Tanya states her opinion clearly with a definite logical background. Her passion can be unnerving, but it is the combination of dedication, effort, intellect, and passion that has helped Tanya to be successful in changing the face of child welfare for the future and the better. Dr. DeJong's description is most accurate for those of us who know her. Tanya has served under 4 governors and has often been criticized for not conforming to Delaware, the nature or the norms of Delaware politics. She wears that criticism as a badge of honor. It is true to who she is. Tanya embodies the phrase, well-behaved women seldom make history. In the hands of some, the child advocate would have been a stepping stone. But in Tanya's hands, over the last 20 years, OCA became a watchdog, an industry leader, a mediator, a caretaker, and a hammer, all at one time. I'm now happy to introduce a short video for you to learn more about Tanya, whom I love and admire.
This isn't a job for Tanya, this is a lifestyle, what she's chosen to do with her life to help children. It's who she was born to be.
She has always been a leader with a vision. So, a lot of times when we're thinking about the here and now, she's really thinking about what will the Office of the Child Advocate be in the future.
I was really afraid she would be in over her head, but she wasn't. She is awesome. She had to start from the ground up and build a state agency.
It was a pretty insurmountable task to create an office that's going to safeguard the welfare of children. And what does that exactly mean? And I think that we have accomplished that, and I think her passion is really changing the system for those individual kids. I think that's where her passion stems from.
She went from a one-woman team to a staff of 39 with 200 volunteer court-appointed special advocates and 200 attorneys, representing more than 700 children today.
And it's incredible that after 20 years, she has as much passion as probably the day she started.
Today, when I look at her, after working with her for 20 years, I am in awe of what she has created. She has whipped this child welfare system into place. We are light years ahead of where we were. She has taken so many kids under her wings and taught them. She has gotten organizations in the community to come together and donate money, and these kids can go to, in foster care, can go to prom, they can get braces, they can get yearbooks, they can do things that regular kids do. And I think that she has helped to take the stigma away from children being in foster care.
For your vision and leadership and all that you do for the children of Delaware, Tanya Culley, please join us on stage to accept your award and officially be inducted to the Hall of Fame of Delaware Women.
Should I break the microphone, Senator Cook? Good evening. Thank you, Natalie and Melanie. I am both honored and humbled to share this space with you this evening. I always do this. Congratulations to my fellow inductees. You are truly inspirational women who have made your mark on Delaware. Thank you to Governor Kearney, twice this week, I must be lucky, the legislature, the nominating committee, and the Office of Women's Advancement and Advocacy for prioritizing the contributions of women in this state. Thank you to Young Conaway for making it possible for my OCA team in full to be here tonight, and for several youth who have experienced care to also attend this event. When I thought about what I wanted to convey in my few minutes of fame here, I decided not to talk about the Office of the Child Advocate, but to instead share a few life lessons from my experiences as a woman, a mom, and as the head of an organization. Tonight I look around this room to see so many people who have been on this life journey with me, many of whom are women. And so I want to impart to my precious children, my young staff, and the young people who have experienced care a few Tanya thoughts. They are, this is for Jen, smoked meats. Just kidding. Number 1, find your passion and follow it. Number 2, stop and enjoy where you are in life. And number 3, cherish the people you share life with. Let me start with cherishing my people. Tonight my mom is here from Florida, and my sister Heather and Jeff are here from Maine. My best friends for more than 30 years, Nat, Terry, Dave, and Missy, and my best friends for the last 10 years are all here with me, and several of them are responsible for all of this. Thank you, Nat, Jen, and Rosie, for getting a good one over on me. My partner, Matt, and our children are here. My entire office, several family court judges, child welfare leaders, and several of you have experienced care and taught me so much are here. Matt Den, Janice Mink, and Kathy Hamill, who saw something in me when I was just 30 years old, are here. Please know that each one of you has impacted my life. Some of you have been the rocks I needed as life happens. Some of you dream with me. Some of you hold me and laugh with me. Some of you harass me on a regular basis and inspire me to do better. And all of you have been exasperated by me at least once. But you have all helped to create the foundation of me. For the last 20 years of this job, some of you have not understood or cannot handle what OCA sees and does every single day of our lives. But you have served as my friends and my family, providing a relief valve from child welfare. And for the rest of you who work in this crazy world with me, thank you for being the hardware store when I needed a hammer. OCA, you know what I'm talking about, and continuing to do the amazing work you do every day for our kids. So my message to the next generation out there, build and cherish your personal relationships and family. Don't walk away from good people when things get tough. Support each other in the workplace. Cultivate lifelong relationships. And most importantly, remember you need and get different things from the various people in your life. No one person should be everything to you. You should not be the only person for someone else. How you build and sustain relationships with the good ones are the foundational elements for success and happiness. I would not be here today without all of you, and I love you all. Building on friendships and family, stop and enjoy where you are in life and the simple moments that come with it. As the months progressed after my father died, I thought I was sinking into the bottom of a deep, dark hole. I felt ashamed and embarrassed that tough Tanya could not handle this tragedy and run her life. With a lot of help, I realized that somewhere in me trying to take care of everyone and everything, I lost myself. I literally cannot remember years of simple moments of my kids and my home life. Those are moments I cannot get back. I do, however, remember sitting in my car so many days, vacillating between tears and emptiness, hoping that I had my pants on, and that I had not forgotten something significant for my children. That's for you, Molly Moo. It took my father's death to make me realize that I was so busy taking care of lists and people that I was missing the real point of life in others, to enjoy it and them. So young women in particular in this room, stop, breathe, and take time for you. You will never get these days back, and you should not be waiting for some magical future time to relax or enjoy those moments. Don't wait for a tragedy to wake you up, please. Third, follow your passion. My journey to become child advocate is a very odd tale. I was a UD business major who dreamed of being a marine biologist and became a legal secretary with a 4-year degree for a criminal defense attorney. But there is no job I would rather have these past 20 years than child advocate. For all of you who have experienced me in a professional capacity, you know that status quo is not in my vocabulary. I encourage all of you, especially our next generation of leaders, and there are many of you in this room, to follow a path that excites you and challenges you. Feel breathless. Be frustrated. Dream. Have vision. Be relentless, yet patient until change happens. Don't fear the unknown. Embrace it. This state, country, and world are counting on you to not be content. Thank you again for this unbelievable honor, which I share with each of you, and which is a testament to Kathy and Janice, who never stopped fighting until the Office of the Child Advocate was created. I am humbled and honored to have had the opportunity to know and serve you all. In closing, here's my pitch. You know I can't leave without it. Please consider signing up to be a CASA volunteer and serve as a voice for Delaware's children. Thank you. First, we'll go over there.
Thank you. Congratulations, Tanya. The children of Delaware are incredibly lucky to have you. It is now my honor to invite Johanne Cherico to the podium to introduce the person she nominated, Maria Matos.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce Maria Matos as an inductee into the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame. I have worked for Maria for 5 years at the Latin American Community Center, but I certainly knew of her long before that. I would see Maria at neighborhood meetings and community rallies. She was a constant presence, advocating for social justice and equality, and speaking for those whose voices might not otherwise be heard. She was a force to be reckoned with. As president and CEO of the Latin American Community Center, Maria directs the state's largest organization dedicated to serving the Latino community. This year marks the center's 50th anniversary, and Maria has been at the helm for half those years. Under her leadership, the center has grown from a small resource center to a vital agency that provides a continuum of programs to meet the needs of the community. Her vision has created an agency with a full circle of services, from early care and education for children, to programs that empower adults and families, to activities that meet the unique needs of seniors. Quite an impact. After having worked for Maria these past years, I recognize that, besides her family, Maria's greatest passion is education. Her belief in the power of education informs all of her work, including leading her to establish the first dual-language elementary school in Delaware. Maria has said that early education is the key, and if you start early enough, you can make a world of difference. I believe that Maria is making a world of difference. I'm happy to introduce a short video that will give you a chance to learn more about Maria.
Over the years, the Latin American Community Center has helped to transform how communities, leaders, and the state looks at issues that are impacting Hispanic Delawareans. Whenever there are issues impacting our community, that is the first phone call to that agency and to Maria.
She's a fearless advocate, so when there's injustice, she's there. It's like almost, when Batman says that sign, it's almost like Wonder Woman sending that sign, because if there's even a hint of impropriety or injustice, Maria Matos is at the forefront, and she's calling who she has to call on. The senator, the governor, maybe even the vice president, the previous vice president of the United States if she has to. But she's definitely there to advocate and make sure that everything is just for everyone that she comes in contact with.
Maria Matos is both a tireless, relentless, comforting, and supportive friend, and a tough critic. Maria is unafraid to speak truth to power and to challenge folks who aren't as dedicated and engaged and tireless in supporting our community as she is.
She is a thought partner in resolving the issues as well as elevating those issues amongst our most influential and state-level leaders. And because of that, she is seen as a key part of how to continue to bridge the gap between the issues that are impacting Hispanic Delawareans and how we can come to resolution for those. Maria is a voice for the voiceless. Many Latinos in Delaware, just by the nature of our culture and heritage, we typically don't like to really speak up and really make waves, but Maria has always been that primary voice within our community, highlighting and elevating and really raising the issues with our state level leaders on the things that are impacting our kids and families.
She's somebody that's definitely not scared to voice her opinion, and so she always is spreading her knowledge and spreading some of the things that are going on in the community, some of the things that we should be working towards. She makes it look easy, which we know it's not, but she does make it definitely look easy.
Her selfless devotion to strengthening and bettering our community and to making a difference for Hispanic Americans, of course, but for all Delawareans and all Americans, is part of what anchors her work at the Latin American Community Center.
But she does this because she knows it's important, and she knows that it is creating the positive impact and changes in our kids' and families' lives, and essentially changing the lives of our Latino children and families. And that's not just the case for now, but it's the case for decades to come beyond Maria. So she's leaving her footprint here in Delaware, pretty solid.
Well, I'm already crying. Oh, see, that is not only you, Governor. Did you hear what Chris said? So, it is what it is. Hashtag savage. Good evening, Governor Kearney. I was going to say our First Lady, but I better say our first spouse. Our first spouse. The Office of Women Advancement and Advocacy, and my fellow honorees. I am very emotional. I'm honored to join this impressive group of women that make up Delaware Women's Hall of Fame. I want to thank my colleagues from work, my friends, and my family for being here today. And my granddaughter said I have to mention their names: Gianna, Alexis, Gabby, and of course, my little boy there, Jacob. If you're a grandmom, you know you got to do what your grandchildren say. Can't help it. They're the boss. I want to also say a special thanks to Ida Wasserstein. I know she's here. Ida, you have been a mentor to me. If I am here, it's because of your mentorship, and I do appreciate that, and thank you for being here today. I don't know if you're here for me today, but you are my mentor, so I wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much. You know, when people heard that I've been nominated or going to be inducted, the outpouring of good wishes that I received from the community at large was so inspiring. I especially want to thank this woman right here, Joanne Cherico, for taking the time to nominate me. Thank you. She is a special, special person. To be nominated to such a prestigious award in Delaware is an honor. But to be inducted with visionary people, with visionary women, like the two in front of me, and Dr. Jill Biden, and Roxana Cannon Arsh, and B.B. Coker, and Senator Margaret Rose Henry, and my dear, dear friend Lynn Williams, is truly humbling. My family is from Puerto Rico, like you didn't know. We were part of the large migration of Puerto Ricans to the mainland after World War II and continuing on into the 1960s. We were from a poor, rural mountain village. And believe it or not, I was born in a one-room hut made of palm leaves and mud. 1950s in Puerto Rico, think about it. My father could not find work in Puerto Rico to support his growing family, and boy, it was a growing family. So we came to the U.S., first to Camden, New Jersey, and then to Wilmington in 1964, because one night he was praying and the Lord said, hey, there's Latinos in Wilmington, half of them are Catholics, half of them are Protestant, and the Protestants do not have a church. Go over there and start a Pentecostal church, and he did, with all 7 kids in a station wagon. So I truly wish my dad was here tonight because I know he would have been proud of his middle child, me. That's my baby sister, Debbie, over there screaming. That child that always challenged his decision and his rules, which I know turned his hair gray. But he never gave up on me. And standing on this stage tonight proves that his influence was powerful in my life. During my 25 years as CEO at the Latin Center, I've been honored to know and to serve a brave and strong community of migrants and immigrants, and they're braver today. I don't have to tell you what's going on in this country today. It has been a privilege to advocate for them and to assist them in the difficult task of making their way in a new country with a new culture. My job has been both lightened and challenged by talented staff, board members, and community members whose devotion to the community has often led them to challenge me, like Ubel Vélez over there, and teach me, and they have turned my hair gray. My job as advocate has introduced me to sources of power and influence in our state. I won't say it's been easy to blend into Delaware's way. There is this resistance to letting newcomers in. And being a woman of color was twice as difficult. This is why it's awe-inspiring to be honored by the governor and inducted into Delaware's Hall of Fame. Doors have opened for me, and I will join my fellow Honorees in continuing to fight for the young women and girls who are coming up after us. One of them is my 10-year-old granddaughter. On my 69th birthday, she wrote me a beautiful note, and it said, "Dear Abuela, Thank you for being there for me every day of my life. 10 years of your love and 10 years of your kindness, with an exclamation and a heart colored in red. I have not been the best helper lately, but you have. You taught me a lot of things, and I thank you. You are so beautiful. That passion and love for others that my dad instilled in me throughout my life jumped out of that page of this tender, loving note of a 10-year-old. I only hope that throughout my life I have been able to influence, care, and love the way he did. Thank you to this committee for working so hard to pull this together. Thank you for taking the time for everyone to be here. And thank you all for taking the time to celebrate awesome women.
Thank you, Maria. I've had the chance to see her work a room in Leg Hall. She works it. And works it well and fast. So now I'd like to bring Kelly Hough to the stage, who will introduce Superior Court Judge Jan Jurden.
Thank you and good evening. I met Judge Jan Jurden 12 years ago when I had the great privilege of serving as her law clerk. And I look back on that year as the most influential and important point in my career. And that's not only for everything that she taught me about the study of law and legal writing and legal research and color coding, and she's very into that, but really about staying true to who you are in this career and finding a career path that you find fulfilling and that impacts the lives of others in a good and meaningful way. And she taught me that largely in part by her example. President Judge Jurden's career path has been one of extraordinary achievement. She began her career in the service to our country with the U.S. Army. After the service, she graduated from Muhlenberg College and Dickinson Law School, both with great distinction, and then joined the prestigious law firm of Young, Conway, Stargett, and Taylor. She made a rapid ascent to partner in the firm, and then just 5 years later was appointed to the Delaware Superior Court. In 2015, she was further elevated to serve as the first female president judge of the Delaware Superior Court, excuse me. During her time on the bench, Judge Durden has been very, very busy. For example, she created and developed Delaware's first felony mental health court, which focuses on addressing the particularized needs of individuals with mental health issues in our criminal justice system. She also oversaw the Veterans Treatment Court, which addresses mental health and addiction problems that our veterans face. Now, I can easily spend the rest of this evening telling you about the wonderful and important things that Judge Jurden has done with her career, but I realize that my time is short here. So there's just one last thing that I wanted to tell you about because I really think that it speaks volumes. About 6 years ago, Judge Jurden started a program called Sisters in Success. And what it is it's a one-day-long conference that's held every year at the Baylor Women's Correctional Institution. And it's a day when professional women from the community come in and they talk to the women at Baylor. And they do various workshops with the women designed to not only inspire them, but to give them the tools to be able to successfully transition back into their communities. And every year, there's a new theme for the conference. And this year, the theme, as selected by the women of Baylor, was Empowered Women Empower Women. And I can't help but to think that is what Judge Jurden is all about. She truly embodies what it is to be a strong and empowered woman. But it's what she does with her power that makes her so special. She gives so much of herself to champion and inspire and encourage and empower others, both men and women alike, and to ensure that equal justice for all really means something in the state of Delaware. She is breaking ceilings and defying gravity on a regular basis, and she's incredibly worthy of the induction tonight into the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame. And the best part about it is she's not even done yet. So thank you all, and thank you to the committee for allowing me to speak tonight about this amazing woman, and I'd like to introduce a short video to you that will tell you a little bit more about President Judge Jan Jurden. Thank you.
Bill Murray in Stripes said, an army without leaders is like a foot without a big toe. And Jan has been a big toe for most of her professional life.
It was wonderful when Judge Jurden was appointed to the Superior Court bench because as a woman in practice, you always look for those appointments and to make sure there's representation of women on the bench. But then when she became the president judge of Superior Court, it was really a time for celebration. One of the words that she uses very frequently is inspired. She draws inspiration from what she sees every day and what she sees on the bench and the struggles of people who are before her. And that inspiration she instills in other people and the projects that she's involved in.
What really gets her creative juices going are problems that she sees, whether others see them or not. In the Superior Court, what she was seeing is that folks were involved with the justice system because they were incapable of making good choices, not because they didn't want to, but they just couldn't. And it became clear to her, I think, that mental health was a factor in a large number of the cases that she was seeing. So she, on her own, decided to do something about it. She created this court, this mental health court. That work, she took on her own. Nobody said you should do this. She just saw a problem and dealt with it. Became a model first for courts around the country and now throughout the world.
That work has really educated the bar as well. Before she went on the bench, in practice, we were in the civil side of practice and in a larger, for Delaware, law firm private practice. And one of the early observations that she had on the bench was that we were insulated in what we saw and from the problems that the community suffered. And that those are the problems that she set out persistently, consistently every day on the bench to resolve. And as we in private practice see that example, we learn much more about the community and what the bench can do to help solve a wide array of problems. She leads by example, and it's not simply her position, but her activities that are inspiring to all of us and set a wonderful example for all of us.
Did Joe Slights just call me a big toe? Oh. Thank you, Kelly, for those kind and generous remarks. And Melanie, thank you for yours, and Joe, I'll deal with you later. And I want to thank Vivian Mednia, who couldn't be here tonight, who nominated me. And I really want to thank the Office of Women's Advancement and Advocacy, the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame Committee, and all who helped plan tonight's event. It's just the energy I'm feeling from all of you, and it's just wonderful. So thank you very much. And okay, I just have to say it. Doesn't it feel great not to be the only woman in the room? Right? I am deeply honored and humbled to join the ranks of these amazing trailblazers in the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame, and it is such a privilege to be inducted alongside Blanche Williams Stubbs, Tanya, Drew, Maria, and Marie, all of whom, through their outstanding achievements, have made an indelible impact on the lives of so many Delawareans. I'm in awe. You're rock stars. Thank you. I stand here so grateful for the many opportunities I've been given and for the people who have inspired, supported, and mentored me throughout my military career. I bet you didn't know I was in the Army, did you? Yeah. Legal and judicial careers, and many of you are in this room tonight. You personify what Maya Angelou meant when she said, "When you get, give. When you learn, teach." Please know, I will spend the rest of my life trying to pay forward your kindnesses and the lessons you have taught me. A majority of my immediate family is Jewish, and it is through them that I learned about tikkun olam, which means repair the world. What a beautiful concept. In my eyes, so many of you tonight here embody this concept, whether you know it or not. Tikkun olam takes many forms. The examples are limitless, and there is no prescription as to how you do it. It's community service, charitable work, accepting pro bono appointments from the Office of Child Advocate, because have you met Tanya? Do you really have a choice? It's reaching back and paying forward. It's helping others shine, complimenting someone for a job well done, treating others with dignity and respect, seeing suffering and trying to alleviate it, and seeing a wrong and trying to right it. It can be as simple as holding open a door, filling the copier with paper because every time I go, it's empty, or picking up litter. I've tried to incorporate this that's for you, Governor. Litter-free DE. I've tried to incorporate this concept into my personal life and, where appropriate, given my judicial role, into my professional life as well. It is my guidepost. As Superior Court judges, we see so many justice-involved people struggling with addiction, mental illness, or both. And I think the Superior Court Mental Health Court is our attempt at Tikkun Olam, and the Veterans Treatment Court is another. Everyone has the ability to repair the world, it just takes the will. I'm lucky to be surrounded by people who have both. Many of my Superior Court colleagues are here tonight, past and present, and I feel so fortunate to work with such smart, dedicated, caring, hardworking people, and I appreciate every one of you, and I am truly honored to serve with you. Your unceasing commitment to serving others and ensuring the fair and impartial administration of justice just inspires me every day. I also see a number of my former young Conaway colleagues. Thank you, my friends, for teaching me how to be a lawyer and for putting such value on pro bono work. The pro bono matters I handled with the Office of Child Advocate, DVLS, and Community Legal Aid were some of the most meaningful cases of my career. And thank you to my friends and family for your unwavering love and support. And some of my family members are here tonight. My wife, Cheryl, thank you. Thank you. My favorite mother-in-law in the whole world, Carol, and a role model. And my daughter, Jordan, who is home as a surprise to me tonight. I had no idea she was coming from New York. And then two of my children are not here, but they inspire me as well, Caroline and Jared. You are my village, and I love you. And now, to all the extraordinary women in the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame, I express my deepest gratitude and respect. Because of your intrepid hearts, your courage, your steadfast determination, and your perseverance, my path and the path of so many other women has been easier to traverse. Congratulations to all my fellow honorees and all the members of the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame. Thank you for this great honor, and thanks to all of you for doing so much to repair our world. Thank you.
Thank you, Superior Court Judge Jan Jurden, for your service on and off the bench. I would like to invite Ciro Papadi to the stage, who nominated Marie Swajeski.
With a nod to my friend Lisa Goodman, the arts community tonight puts forward our own badass by the name of Marie Swajeski. Yes, yes. Marie Swajeski had an impossible dream: to bring live theater to children and to provide young talent a forum where they could explore their own artistic vision. In her quest to follow that star, she started her children's theater in the attic, repeat, in the attic of a church in downtown Wilmington with less than 100 seats. At times, her quest was hopeless. You can only imagine how difficult it was to raise awareness and support and money for children's theater. Our patrons generally support or give money to the ballet or to opera or to the symphony, but rarely to children's theater. Nonetheless, she marched forward. She marched forward without question and without pause, bolstered by a loyal following who would remain by her side for over 40 years. With the help of her husband, John the Lion-Hearted. Yeah. She turned the New Century Club, a very place that 70 years before had been the catalyst for women's suffrage in Delaware. She turned the New Century Club into her Delaware Children's Theater. And from its beginning, the theater house was a national success story. But locally it was our home, a home where children could step away from television and from electronics and discover that magical moment, that magical experience of song, of dance, and of live theater. It was a home where Mrs. S, as we called her, personally mentored and mothered and taught us and loved us, the thousands upon thousands of students, including our family, the Poppity family, myself and my brother Jeffrey. We kids were from diverse backgrounds, and we gathered for one purpose, as Mrs. S used to say. We gathered to build a rainbow, to make a rainbow. And by that she meant that all of us, kids and adults, would lend our talents, big and small, and together we would make art. And when we made art, we made the world more loving, and we made the world more beautiful. And such is that badass Marie Swajeski, a beautiful, a loving artist who strove with every last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable star. I agree. And now a few words via the video.
I met Marie Swajeski years ago when my children were 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. They showed an interest in theater, and we had this building on the corner, the Delaware Children's Theater, and it seemed like a very smart thing to do, to let them do some of the summer camps and just dabble in the arts. But what I found was it wasn't just a dabble in the arts kind of camp. There was a very talented, incredible woman who was very professional, with a lot of integrity and a lot of discipline, but with an eye toward looking into the heart and the soul, and to see that little spark in a child that could then allow her to do wonders.
You know, getting up on stage is a scary thing. It can be freaky. I still feel it, you know, even now. But she made it a safe place to create and to try things. And while it was about performing and while it was about theater, it was also about community and getting to know people and kind of coming out of your shell. Looking back on it as an adult, I realized that it was actually a lot bigger than just getting up on stage and saying lines and singing songs.
There was not much in town except in school. And she started with classes. She was doing it in different buildings. Wherever she could get a room, she would do a show there. You have to be kind of born with this love of being on the stage.
I mean, I remember that I'd be sitting in school, and you know, I feel like most kids are probably, you know, tapping their toe and wanting to maybe get to the park or ride their bikes or go, you know, play sports or something. But I was like, I can't wait to get to rehearsal. You know, that was like, it was my playground, was coming to Delaware Children's Theater. It was like, that was where I felt that I fit in.
She was able to establish in small-town Wilmington first-class New York City standards for children who didn't have to become actors and actresses, but they could be the very sophisticated audiences in the future that would support the arts.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Michelle and Johnny, and congratulations to the other amazing inductees. Unfortunately, our mother, Marie, could not be here due to health issues, but she thanks you for this wonderful award. She says she's incredibly touched by the outpouring of love and respect for her life and her work. Marie was a true pioneer in the field of children's theater. There was once nothing like it around when she started. So recognizing a need, Marie dreamed a dream.
Early on, before self-empowerment was even a buzzword, Marie was an advocate for children, helping them develop their self-esteem and creative gifts. Marie began touring schools all over Delaware with a troupe of actors that she called the Rainbow Players, and they would go everywhere teaching workshops and doing performances. And she learned something very simple but very profound, that children, despite their socioeconomic backgrounds, when brought together to do a play, became a new community. They learned to work in harmony, and their differences didn't matter. Marie discovered the power of the arts to transform and engage children, some of whom had never learned to express themselves. Now all her dream needed was a home.
Marie and our father John saved the historic New Century Club from demolition to house her theater group, and the Delaware Children's Theater was born. In the process, she saved one of the last public works of one of the first women architects, Minerva Parker Nichols.
Yes. She's a wonderful first woman architect. Marie's greatest pride is that DCT is now a place staffed by awesome volunteers, where kids, parents, grandparents can all work together to create family entertainment that provides inspiration and joy in a world where sometimes those things are sadly lacking. By recognizing Marie tonight, she says you are recognizing that a child's imagination, creative development, and individuality are so very worthy of this kind of acknowledgement.
Marie is deeply grateful for this honor, and she wants to thank the Office of Women's Advancement and Advocacy and the Delaware Women's Hall of Fame. Special thank you to Ciro for that wonderful intro. Thank you very much, and for your support.
And then finally, we want to thank our awesome volunteers, many of them who are right here tonight. They keep DCT thriving, and we have been wonderful for 47 wonderful seasons, bringing the magic of theater to Delaware. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Mom had one more message.
Oh, no.
Wait. Mom had actually one more message.
Oh, she wanted to say that Frozen opens November 16th and runs to the 15th. Thank you, Tanya. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Come over here. Governor's going to take a picture here. So this is from Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna and David, for being here tonight and for honoring your mother and for continuing her great work at the theater.
Thank you all for joining us tonight, and congratulations to all the inductees. You're amazing women. We're so honored to be here with you, and we just want to say we hope to see you at next year's event, and also to show support for all the inductees over the years. So please join us for coffee and dessert, and we appreciate you coming again. So thank you so much. Great. Thank you.